time periods I could survive. Welcome, guys, once again to the channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where we rank dinosaurs. And today we're not going to be ranking dinosaurs. This is going to be a much more, I want to say, lighthearted tier list. I'll try to be as, try to be as objective as possible. But, this is just to have fun. And I did came up with, honestly, this was an idea for, it was a friend's idea. So I'm just gonna breeze through it. Probably it's not gonna be a very long video. So without further ado, we're gonna be starting with the Siderian period. Now, if you haven't heard of this period, it's because, this was the first period in Earth's history. There was nothing. I am not surviving this period, basically. I am dying in probably the first 30 minutes. That's it. That's this entry. This is gonna go Siderian period, absolutely clapped. The Cambrian. Now we're talking. Now there are some, possibilities. Now, not a lot, because, basically the oxygen levels are so low. We're basically not making it, not because we don't want to, or because because of our survival strategy, or all that we know of our knowledge, but because it's basically impossible. So, I mean, I guess you could, for the first day, you can, just hunt some massive shrimp, like animal caris, or just eat some trilobites. But that's it, until the atmosphere absolutely kills you. So, the Cambrian, you ain't doing it that much. Honestly, you're kind of clapped as well. The Devonian period. Now, it did kind of, jumped a little bit ahead in time. Didn't talk about Ordovician or Silurian, because those are basically kind of like the Cambrian, not exactly, but, we did see some, plant resurgence. There's some vegetation, at least, to talk about. So I think the Devonian is a pretty good place where you could say there are some actually good chances of survival. There is oxygen, like acceptable levels of oxygen, honestly. There is vegetation, again, not one that we're familiar with, but, vegetation, some kind of greens. Again, fresh water is a thing. And most importantly, there are some actual animals that we can take advantage of and actually eat. Early tetrapods, I don't think they'll put that much of a, fighting, put that much of a fight. So we're basically set on food, honestly. And, there's not a lot of things on land that could actually kill you or threaten you that we know of from the fossil record. So unless we're in the water and we're absolutely getting munched on by all those different kinds of predators, like, Dunkleosteus and their friends and his friends, I think we're actually doing pretty good in the Devonian. I'm gonna say, I don't want to put in easy breezy. You know what? Seeing a lot of these other time periods, this is probably the easiest breezy you could get. The Carboniferous. Now, I'm telling you right away, there is absolutely no way in hell I am choosing the Carboniferous as a place to be living in. The amount of different things, not only on the water, which is just scary by itself. On land, we have oversized invertebrates that God knows what else was there. For the 0.01% of things that we know existed in the Carboniferous, there's a 99% of things that are absolutely unknown, and I do not want to experience that in my life. What we do know of the Carboniferous is that I do not want to live there. Hell no. And, oxygen levels, are through the roof. So many plants. It's, colonizing the whole Earth. I don't like the Carboniferous at all. I'm absolutely getting... Well, I mean, I could survive. I could try to survive. Honestly. However, do I want to survive in this world is another different thing. Honestly, I could put it in clapped, but there is a chance that you could survive. So I'm gonna put in minimal chances. The Permian. Now this is where things get very dicey. Very, very dicey. The Permian, again, we're not taking the ocean into account. We're not taking a step in the ocean. Um, but again, once again in the actual land, things are looking pretty bad, honestly. Not only because the climate is already pretty horrendous by this time, a lot of volcanic activity, like intense volcanic activity, but land animals are an absolute nightmare fuel. Gorgonopsids, therosophalians, all kinds of different things, uh, different synapsids, which they're not huge animals like compared to a human, but I think the scariest animals to people are the ones that are not like too big, like medium size predators or herbivores are, I think, the scariest animals because they think they can take you, and that's that's enough for them to just straight up beeline towards you. So the Permian, I'm not gonna lie, it's not looking good. I could survive, honestly. Well, not me, but a perfectly capable human could actually, I believe, survive the Permian. It's gonna be tough though because there are some people that do try to survive in the wilderness, and the Permian, I think it'll be tough, but it is possible. So it's gonna be tough, yeah. The Triassic. Now, some of you may be thinking, like, Triassic, oh no, this is going to be terrible. And there's like absolutely no way you could survive. Hold on just a little bit. I was thinking about it, I'm like, bro, first of all, early Triassic, easy. Like, the world is like, in a recession. Just kidding. The world is like, like rebooting, with a fresh start. And if you know your paleontological history, you know that in the Triassic, early Triassic, there was a type of animal that was very abundant. I don't know if there was a myth. I can't remember. No, it was actually true. Like almost 90% of the Earth was covered in Lystrosaurus. Now you might be thinking, oh no, Lystrosaurus is just like the top animal, like the one that kills everything. No, Lystrosaurus is just a little dog-sized herbivorous dicynodont. So as far as food, bro, we're set. We're just eating Lystrosaurus for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Trying to make it with anything else, we're set. And if 90% of the Earth is just Lystrosaurus, I mean, the 10% predators, I mean, I am the 0.01% predator. So the other predators are gonna have to just take the L because they're not getting me. Also, they're not that huge or threatening at this point in time. Now, if you're gonna go later Triassic, there are some Pseudotsuchians and some pretty impressive land crocs. Which, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely scary, but you just have to find a way around them, just like crocodiles today. Not that those ones are any easier. But and dinosaurs, they're not threatening at this point in time. Cephalocytes are the thing. There are some other big dinosaurs, so, like prosauropods, Plateosaurus and all that. But we're chilling in the Triassic, honestly. I have to say, Triassic challenging, but doable. The Jurassic. Now, this is where my hopes just plunder into the floor. Anywhere in the world in the Jurassic is absolutely painful and honestly almost impossible to live. Theropod dinosaurs by themselves are just an absolute L that we're going to take. Like Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Torvosaurus, Metriacanthosaurus, small little tetanurans, basal tyrannosauroids, all of that absolutely clapped. As I was saying earlier, people should not be scared of large, very large megatheropods. They're not gonna bother with you. They want the big game. The smaller sized ones or medium sized ones are the ones that you should be scared of because you're actually a threat, either a threat or actual food that they can take down and get some amount of, carbs in. So, by that point, we're already cooked. Herbivores as well are absolutely insane. I'm not just scared about, the large sauropods, but, stegosaurs and all that. Hell no. Absolutely getting clapped. The climate is nice. There's a lot of vegetation, very green. You could honestly hunt little ornithopods and, just live off the earth. But yes, like out in the wild, yes, we're not doing great, guys. I think there's minimal chances that we make it out of the Jurassic. The Cretaceous. No, I'm not gonna dwindle too much on the Cretaceous because I think already know my answer, and that is absolutely clapped. I know I said before that we shouldn't be worried about large theropods, and the Cretaceous is known for their very large theropods. But again, those large theropods do have babies, and those babies are gonna grow up little by little, and they're gonna get to a point where they're big enough so we as in people are their actual prey, and they can eat us and hunt us fairly easily. So in that front, yes, we're cooked. Again, any part of the world, we're cooked. North America, we're cooked. Ceratopsians, absolutely getting horned by those guys. Tyrannosaurs too. Asia, more of the same. Africa, again, Carcharodontosaurs are absolutely clapping us. Spinosaurids, well, actually Spinosaurids, and they might be more, water oriented. So maybe not so much for those, but other medium-sized theropods absolutely getting cooked. In South America as well, cooked as well. Even in Asia, like Australia, we're getting cooked. Like Megaraptorans, hell no. I mean, the climate is beautiful. We got flowers now. That is nice. I guess you could survive off of, small mammals, or just hunting, the smallest herbivores that you could find. But as much as survived, or like I try to go for more than a day, I don't know, bro. You have to live in a cave and not come out at all. So, yeah, the Cretaceous, absolutely clapped. The Paleogene. Now, Paleogene is the period, but for epochs, the Paleogene consists of the Paleocene, the Eocene, and the Oligocene. Now, it honestly depends on which epoch. I'm so sorry about that. Depends on which epoch you are. You might be more likely to survive because the Eocene and the Oligocene, yes, they do have some pretty insane animals that we do not want to anger at all. But in the Paleocene and part of the Eocene, again, the Earth is getting back on its feet. We wiped out the dinosaurs. Now mammals are in. So I think there's more familiarity helps. Seeing animals that we actually recognize, that we can see, that we can actually have a real sense of what they do or what they look like, helps a lot. It also helps psychologically. It'll ease your mind to see just tiny horses running around. So I think in that front, I think we're actually kind of good. There's no insanely huge predators, so I think we're safe on that part. Again, the actual climate, pretty warm as well. So you're not gonna just die of hypothermia. So I would say the Paleogene is not terrible, honestly. We could honestly survive over there. I don't think it's as the same level as the Permian. So I think it's challenging but doable, honestly. The Neogene. Now, the Neogene is another period which includes the epochs of the Miocene and the Pliocene. Now, by this time in Earth's history, it was a much more cooler climate, much more drier. So there was a lot of different animals that evolved, and by this time, we do have some modern animals that, yes, they were alive by this time, like rhinos, zebras, and, well, I don't know zebras, but rhinos and definitely other different animals were alive in this time period. I think zebras too. Now that I think about it, yeah, zebras too. But yes, so thinking about that way, yes, much more familiarity. There are still some absolutely insane animals during this time. You got entelodonts, which are man's worst nightmare. Hyenodons, amphictyons, all of that crazy stuff. Um, Again, there was a lot of specifically in America, there was that big interchange where a lot of animals did a transition between both continents. We got Phorusrhacids too. That would have been gnarly. And in Australia, we did have all those weirdos. There's Australian weirdos over there, like Diprotodon and Thylacosemilus. So this time period is honestly not insanely terrible. There's a lot of primates too that evolved during this time. So if they could survive, we definitely could, but it's gonna be tough, like really tough. So I think I'm gonna put it right here. The Quaternary. Now this one includes the Pleistocene and the Holocene. The Holocene. And yes, so this is basically just, a couple of million years ago. So most of the animals that we know are alive by this time. There are some exceptions, like, Smilodons, some more terrible birds, some weird elephants too. But mostly almost the same. Humans already, some ancestors were already part of this time period. So, if they could survive, if Neanderthals could make it, we could make it. I know, right? I don't know if we had the survival instinct to, survive freaking Pleistocene, South or North America, or Asia, or something like that. It would be absolutely scary. But it is doable. Well, I don't know doable, but it's got to be tough, basically. Like today. I'm using today as the standard, which is, tough. If you're outside, it's going to be tough for you. So, I think, yeah, right next to the NEOGENE is fine. So, thank you guys once again for watching this video. It was a bit more, bit more fun I took with the with the actor tier list. Not that I don't have fun with the other ones, but this was much more lighthearted. So please, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments what would be your tier list. What would be the worst time period to be alive? Honestly, excluding this Siderian, which I made it as a joke because there's nothing there and the climate is absolutely uninhabitable. Habitable. I cannot speak. But from the ones that are habitable, which ones would you think is the worst, and which one do you think is the more the much easier one? So, thank you guys once again. Please like the video; it helps a lot. Subscribe; it helps even more. We're almost to 500 subscribers. So, thank you guys for watching. I said thank you for like 10 times, but I'm really grateful to you guys.